The distress beacon pierced through the howling wind like a dying scream. Jake pressed his gloved hand against the frozen metal of the crashed pod, feeling the faint warmth still radiating from its core. Whatever had been inside was recent. The hatch hung open, frost already claiming its edges. He should have walked away. Standard protocol on Vera 9 was clear. Unknown alien tech meant potential contamination, hostile organisms, or worse. But 18 months alone on an ice planet did things to a person's judgment. Inside the pod, huddled against the far wall, 3 small creatures trembled. They were barely larger than house cats, covered in silvery blue fur that rippled like liquid metal, 6 eyes each, arranged in pairs down their elongated skulls. They mewled softly, a sound so pitiful that Jake's chest tightened. He reached in slowly. The nearest one sniffed his hand, then pressed its warm face against his palm. The decision made itself. He smuggled them back to his outpost in his thermal pack, their tiny bodies generating surprising heat against his chest. His AI assistant Vera scanned them immediately. Species unknown. Genetic markers do not match any cataloged life form in the database. Jake shrugged. The galaxy was vast. Plenty of creatures hadn't been documented yet. He set up a heated enclosure, offered them protein rations, and watched them eat with delicate precision. They purred. By nightfall, all 3 had curled up on his bunk, and for the first time in months, Jake didn't sleep alone. 6 months changed everything. The creatures grew explosively. What had fit in his hands now stood waist-high, their bodies sleek and muscular beneath fur that seemed to absorb light. Retractable claws emerged during play, each one capable of scoring deep marks in plasteel. Their movements carried an eerie grace, perfectly silent despite their size. Jake named them after old Earth predators: Ash, Smoke, and Ember. They responded to their names, followed commands, and demonstrated problem-solving skills that unnerved him. Vera's warnings became more insistent. Jake, their neural structures are developing beyond standard predator intelligence. I strongly recommend genetic sequencing. He kept putting it off. They were loyal, affectionate even. Ash would rest her massive head on his lap during meals. Smoke brought him tools before he asked for them. Ember stood guard at the door every night, watchful and protective. Then the trader arrived. Captain Voss, a Zentari merchant, landed his small cargo hauler looking to resupply. Jake welcomed the company, eager for news from the wider galaxy. But when Voss entered the outpost and saw the 3 Vorathians lounging near the heater, his skin turned gray. His translator crackled with panicked clicks. Impossible! They're extinct. They're all extinct. He backed toward the door, 4 arms trembling. Do you have any idea what you've done? Voss fled before Jake could get answers, his ship launching with reckless speed. Jake turned to Vera with ice forming in his gut. Search everything. Vorathians. What are they? The silence that followed felt like standing at the edge of a cliff. Then Vera spoke, her synthetic voice flat with data. Vorathian Apex Hunters. Extinction declared 107 years ago following the Purge Wars. Adult specimens average 12 feet in height. Exoskeletal density renders them resistant to most conventional weapons. Pack hunters with demonstrated intelligence rivaling spacefaring species, responsible for the complete annihilation of 17 colony worlds before unified galactic forces eradicated them. Jake's hands went numb. He looked at Ash, who tilted her head curiously, 6 eyes blinking in sequence. How? He whispered. Vera continued. Vorathians were biologically exterminated through targeted viral agents. All known eggs and juveniles were destroyed. Your specimens appear to be pre-adolescent, based on size comparisons. Full maturity is estimated at 18 to 24 months. 3 months left, maybe less. Jake spent the next week researching, diving into historical archives filled with nightmare footage. Vorathians moving through fortified positions like ghosts, their claws shearing through armor plating. Coordinated hunts that left no survivors. Entire battalions vanished in minutes. The galaxy had celebrated their extinction, and he'd raised 3 of them from infancy. He had to move them, relocate them somewhere remote, far from human settlements. Jake loaded supplies into his rover, led the 3 Vorathians to a canyon system 80 kilometers north, and left them with enough food for weeks. They watched him leave with those unblinking eyes, heads low. He told himself it was necessary. By the time he reached the outpost, guilt sat like a stone in his chest. They were waiting at his door 4 hours later. All 3 of them, coated in frost, tails swishing in perfect synchronization. Ash approached and pressed her forehead against his stomach, purring so deeply he felt it in his bones. Jake sank to his knees. "I can't keep you," he said. Smoke and Ember flanked him, warm and solid. They'd tracked him across frozen wasteland without hesitation. They'd come home. The distress signal came 2 days later. Settlement Sierra, 40 kilometers east. Raider attack in progress. Jake grabbed his rifle and emergency gear, his pulse hammering. 17 families lived in Sierra. 7. He sprinted to his rover, fired the engine, and accelerated into the night. He didn't see the 3 shadows that followed, loping effortlessly through the ice fields behind him. Sierra 7 burned. Smoke poured from shattered habitation domes. Bodies lay scattered in the snow. Jake counted 8 raider ships, heavy combat models bristling with weapons. He recognized the markings. Crush Reavers, a mercenary outfit known for taking slaves and pillaging frontier worlds. He raised his rifle, sighting on a Kresh squad dragging colonists toward their transports. His first shot dropped 1. The others scattered, returning fire that shredded the ice around him. Jake rolled behind cover, pain exploding in his shoulder as a plasma bolt grazed him. Blood steamed in the cold air. He was outnumbered, outgunned, and rapidly running out of time. The Kresh advanced, their insectoid bodies clicking with anticipation. He fired again. Missed. They were 10 meters away. 5. Ash hit the first one like a meteor. She materialized from darkness itself, claws extended and tore through exoskeleton with surgical precision. The Kresh screamed, a sound that died as smoke clamped jaws around its throat. Ember vaulted over Jake, moving so fast she seemed to flicker, and disemboweled 2 raiders before they could raise their weapons. The Vorathians moved like liquid death, perfectly coordinated, utterly silent except for the wet sounds of carnage. Jake watched, frozen, as his 3 companions dismantled the raider force. They anticipated each other's movements, created kill zones, drove enemies into ambushes with terrifying intelligence. A Kresh captain fired a plasma cannon point blank at Ash. The blast scorched her fur, but she didn't slow, her claws opening him from thorax to abdomen. Smoke paralyzed targets with precise strikes to nerve clusters. Ember protected Jake's position, eliminating any threat that moved in his direction. It was over in 4 minutes. 17 Kresh Reavers lay dead or dying. The 3 Vorathians stood among the bodies, breathing steady, eyes scanning for remaining threats. Then Ash turned, saw Jake bleeding, and rushed to him with a worried Keen. She pressed against his wounded side, warmth spreading from her body. Smoke and Ember joined, forming a protective circle. They weren't monsters. They were family. One of the dying Kresh had activated an emergency broadcast. Jake saw the recording light blinking on the Raider's shoulder cam. Footage of the attack would already be spreading across galactic networks. Humanity's impossible secret revealed. He should have been terrified. Instead, he reached up and scratched behind Ash's ears. She purred. Within hours, the transmissions lit up the colonial net. Panicked reports, military alerts, xenobiological emergency protocols. Jake ignored them all. He sat in the ruins of Sierra Azagen, surrounded by grateful survivors and his 3 Vorathians, and waited for whatever came next. The galaxy thought it knew humanity, thought humans were soft, fragile, foolishly compassionate. They'd been raising livestock and pets for millennia. What was one more species? The difference was simple. Humans didn't just tame, they bonded. And now the deadliest predators in galactic history saw them as pack, as family, as worth protecting with every ounce of their terrible strength. Let the galaxy come. Let them see what humanity had earned, not through conquest or fear, but through the simple act of showing kindness to 3 lost hatchlings freezing in the dark. Jake smiled as Ember settled her massive head in his lap. The Vorathians had come home, and they would never leave.